Thank you, everyone. It's lovely to see all your beautiful smiling faces in person. It's been quite a while since I've been here at the VSU, and it's just lovely to be in this beautiful energetic space with faces that I recognise and also beautiful new faces. But we all have souls and we're all connected on that higher level, so welcome family. So before I do any kind of talk or presentation, I love to choose a card out of an oracle deck. And I've got a number of oracle decks, but lately I've been choosing a couple of my favourites. And one of the decks I've got is called the Queen of the Moon Oracle, because I'm very aware of what energy the moon can have on our emotions. So when I was asking last night what would be the theme that I could present on in this actual talk, the card that came up was peace. And I thought, okay, peace doesn't seem all that relevant. But then the message from that card was stop fighting, stop pushing, allow yourself to rest for a while. When we let what we no longer need go, we make room for peace. And the mantra from this card was, I choose to create and hold peace. I allow this to ripple out into the world. So we are all responsible for our levels of peace. We tend to expect that our outer circumstances will support us into coming back to experiencing some type of peace. But I'm here to tell you that our peace is here within, and it's in our heart space. And this is where our soul resides. This is where our spirit resides. And I've had to find my peace during this last week. I don't know if anybody's aware of the astrology of the planet at the moment. We're in a very difficult cycle. We're heading towards a lunar eclipse on Tuesday, and that energy is pretty fierce. It's about change, it's about letting go. It's letting go of the past. And I have some beautiful healing rooms in Lilydale, and they were flooded on Monday night. And, Monday afternoon actually. And I was actually in a beautiful meditation with a circle of women on the Monday morning, and I was blissed out. And that's where I was finding my peace. And then when I went to go to my cupboard and pull out a file for a client, I couldn't open the cupboard, and then I realised that the carpets were wet. So my work is my love, and I love my family, love my children, love my family friends, but I know that as I've been studying astrology myself, my work is also my love, and it's what's leading me into the future. So when I discovered my rooms were flooded once again, because it's not the first time, 12 years ago in 2010 they were flooded as well. And interestingly, there's been a cycle, because when I moved into my house in Lilydale, it was on Cup Weekend 2008. 2010, Cup Weekend, my rooms got flooded. Now, Cup Weekend again, got flooded again. So there's some kind of message there. I'm still trying to discern what that is. But I noticed that what I didn't probably express well enough the last time was grief. And people tend to think I'm very stoic, that I can hold my own. But I allowed myself to feel the grief, embrace it, and let it go. And I feel that on a world scale, that's what's going on energetically as well. And this is what these planets that really affect every part of us are actually impacting us on that level too, helping us to recognise what are we holding on to from the past, and what grief are we not letting go of. What are we preventing ourselves from stepping into, because there's a part of us that is still holding on to the old version of who we are. So I relocated my healing space upstairs to a spare room, and I noticed that I enjoyed beautifying that space, because I noticed how I enjoy creating beauty. And when I created my rooms downstairs years ago, I just enjoyed creating that sense of beauty. So when I moved everything upstairs into a smaller room, smaller space, I noticed that I could just get as much enjoyment from that relocation as I did from creating the space that I had at the bottom of my house. And I choose a card each night before I go to sleep, And I've been using this oracle deck, the Queen of the Oracle, and one of the cards that came out the night before I decided to relocate my room was beauty. And so the next day I actually did that, not thinking that there was a synchronicity or there was that was what I was meaning to do. So when this word of peace came up, I realised when I took all my sound healing instruments, all the things that really are important to me in my healing rooms upstairs, I left behind, there's these beautiful angel letters that you can create words from, and I'd left the word peace at the very back of my room, and they're still sitting there. I wondered what that meant, but then when I chose this card, I thought, we can find peace wherever we are. I find a lot of peace, and I support my clients to find a lot of peace in those rooms. But wherever you are at any precious moment, if you were to bring yourself back to your body, back to your heart, take yourself out of your busy head, down into the heart space, that's where you find your peace. It's not from the external location. It's not from this impression of we have to find peace externally to us, but the peace resides within. And what I did find out too from that understanding of that word peace is that I'm a healer who really likes to support people to find clarity, find out what their blocks are, find out how they can move forward. But in the end, when it comes down to the crux of it, it's actually peace that I help them find. It's so vitally important. And it brought me to the words of the beautiful John Lennon in his song Imagine. And he says in the lyrics there, imagine all the people living life in peace. You may say that I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us and the world will live as one. Unity, that's what it's all about. We're here moving into an age of Aquarius. We're moving into a time where old structures are dismantling, and maybe the message for me in terms of my healing rooms and my house is it's time to let it go. It's time to move on and find a new place. And what are we all needing to look at in our own lives? What's been coming up for you during this cycle that we're in? Is there relationships that you need to take another look at and say, okay, that no longer is part of who I am becoming? What do you need to let go of? What do you need to grieve? And allow the grief, actually embody the grief. Because when we resist any sense of emotion that doesn't feel good, it continues to harbour and goes deep within. A lot of us, and me included, are healing old childhood wounds. And it doesn't matter how old you get, they're still there. So we're going through a time of change, and we need to realise that there's certain things that we can control, and there's things that we can't control. And I couldn't stop the flooding of my rooms, even though I'd put in many measures 12 years ago to ensure that it wouldn't happen again. But the stars and the planets, from my understanding and from my learning about our own independent individual charts, is that they have the way they dance in the skies impact us on a daily level, on a moment-to-moment level. And so I realised I couldn't control that, but I could control how I reacted to it. So I had to sit in the silence, sit in the stillness, and listen to my own heart to see what the message was. I was watching a video on Buddhism last night and the way the Buddhists achieve some sense of peace. And their principles say that letting go of attachment, accepting change, and accepting impermanence. Nothing's here forever. We're not permanent. We're here for this lifetime to live, grow, to experience challenges, to learn wisdom. And then we depart our physical body, we go back into spirit, and then we revisit what we want to do again in terms of karma and what we'd like to come back and learn the next time. So I think it's a case of surrendering to peace. And how do we experience that inner peace? The first step is breath, to breathe into that part of your body that feels tense and is in turmoil. So for me, it was the heart and the solar plexus that I was really feeling that tension in. So I was breathing quite deeply, gently, and noticed the difference straight away. But there's other ways of experiencing a sense of peace. It's listening to soothing music or a meditation that takes you away. But it's also about taking yourself out of your busy mind and into your body, because many of us are very sensitive to energy around us, and we just escape up into the head and think continually. So finding that sense of peace may mean coming out of the head and back into the body, embracing those feelings, those emotions. Walking in nature, appreciating all your senses. What do you see when you go into nature? What do you feel? What do you hear? What do you smell? What do you taste? All those senses, they're God-given senses. And singing or sounding from the heart, or humming, using your own voice to come back to that centre is really, really helpful to come back to that sense of peace. And also finding a sense of joy in the moment. So for me, it's being around my beautiful grandchildren and finding the interesting things that they go about with their curiosity and play, and how it brings you back to a sense of your childlike nature. It's finding peace in your joy. And putting aside all your thoughts and expectations of others. Now that's a hard one, because we are all in relationship with each other. Every person you meet, you're in some form of relationship with. And of course, our intimate and family relationships can be the most challenging. So letting go of those thoughts, those expectations, and also letting go of your identity, what you appear to others. And it's also about developing a greater sense of compassion for yourself and self-love, because that's one of the things I really work towards helping my clients do, is to find that sense of self-compassion and love, and from there you can be more your true, authentic self. Now, here's another quote, and it's actually not a quote, but I'll read it to you anyway. We're searching for the ultimate feeling of bliss, the reconnection to our deepest essence. It's a memory. In the stillness, you'll find it. In the breath, you'll experience it. In the silence, you'll be it. Peace. And that's something I downloaded this morning, so I'll take credit for that one. I don't tend to like to quote other people's quotes, but there you go. So I did choose another card last night as well, which I found was quite relevant. I like to choose a couple of cards to see what would be really supportive to talk about. And the second card that came up out of my Energy and Spirit Oracle deck was Up from the Depths and Releasing Difficulty. And the message of this card was, this card foretells a time of great release for you. An all-consuming issue is about to be resolved, or at least is moving in the right direction. So understanding this, that this is just another sign and another push from the universe and the planets, the stars that God created. They're all signs for me to let go, in my circumstance, of home, maybe family, moving a little bit further away, moving to the beach, which is my dream and has been my dream for many, many years, and re-looking at how I do my work, because I've done my healing work in different ways for quite a while, but now maybe it's time to revisit. Is there something else that I need to do or change? And this is something I believe we're all being asked to do during this time. Here's another quote, and it's by O.G. Mandino. I will love the light, for it shows me the way. Yet I will love the darkness, for it shows me the stars. Now, I listen to a number of really wonderful spiritual channelers, and I don't know if anybody's heard of Lee Harris. He's on YouTube, He's on, I'm in his so-called portal where I get a lot of updates. He's a beautiful man who channels a group of higher beings called the Z's. And he does an energy forecast for each month, so we can kind of tell what the energy we're moving into for that month. And there's one question that his guides raised which really kind of triggered me into questioning. And that question was, why are you alive? That seems pretty profound, doesn't it? And how often do we sit down and ask ourselves that question? And I think we tend to do that as we get older, maybe not so much younger, although the younger people are starting to become more self-aware earlier. But I certainly might have asked that in my 40s when things started to go pear-shaped and life catapulted me into being a single mother and forging my own way and starting my own business. So he also asked the question, have you decided why you are here, or have others decided for you? Because when you've got family, when you've got children, they can, they can have certain expectations because of whatever role you're in. For instance, my role as a mother. But there's always been a part of me that knew that I'm here for other things. And there's also an awareness that each and every one of us has a blueprint. And we each have come here for a reason. Not to live life safely, to get to the other side, but to realise what your expression is and to actually share it with the world. We're here to share that deep, beautiful gift that you have within. So I feel that confusion can tend to arise around that question, why are you alive, when you don't know what your true purpose is. You're not being fulfilled, or you're fulfilling other people's agendas, or you haven't distinguished between what you don't want and what you do want, and you haven't found your true expression. So that's why, part of my healing journey and what I like to support my clients in is to develop a greater sense of self-awareness. That's the first step. They can come to me with an issue, anxiety, stress, or making a decision about a life change. But until they know who they are on the inside and what the blueprint is that you created before you came, then there will be no fulfillment. There will be no realisation of your true purpose. So I've done that through studying the 5 elements of nature in Chinese medicine, reading people's features on their face and their birth date, and now I'm also studying astrology to get an understanding of what planets were on your chart on the day you were born, and also what's happening now with those planets that are in constant movement. Here's another, this is not a quote, this is a proverb, and it is, be humble, for you are made of earth, which is your physical body. Be noble, for you are made of the stars, which is your spirit and your soul. So there's no two ways about it. This is a time of change, transformation, upheaval, letting go, grief, and survival seems to be a big focus. People are worried about the money markets. People are worried about the prices of their houses going down. And there's a worry about so many things, family, relationships, and Lee Harris would describe it as we're living in an energy storm. And at the moment, there are 5 planets in water signs. Water signs are about emotions. So if you have been feeling a little bit off kilter and feeling quite sensitive and emotional, you can blame the stars. So the Dalai Lama reminds us with this quote, the planet does not need more successful people. The planet desperately needs more peacemakers, more healers, restorers, storytellers, and lovers of all kinds. So I wanted to just show you what can happen. I'm going to use a couple of my tuning forks, which I use in sound healings, to show you an example of what we may experience energetically when we're moving from chaos, which is what the energy of the planet is right now, and to what a feeling of peace and harmony is like. So in my healing business, I use a lot of tuning forks in sound healing sessions, and I've 2 forks here which I'm going to clang, and I haven't tested this to see what it'll be like, but this will be an example of what the sound of chaos is, which for us during a healing session is about releasing, letting go. That's the sensation of chaos. If you'd like to close your eyes for a moment, I just want you to notice what that feels like in your body. And it can be a little bit discordant, a little bit uncomfortable. That's what chaos is, that's what change is. But then we bring 2 different forks together to create harmony and peace in the body, to support the nervous system, the vagus nerve. And it's a different feeling, isn't it? It's a different sensation. So I hope you felt the difference there. Just a little example. I'd like to finish, this is not so much a meditation, but I'd like to use one of my new fabulous singing bowls, which I found on a recent trip with my spiritual friends to Merimbula. They had to leave me in this particular shop because I was there for ages trying to make up my mind whether I'd buy these bowls or not. And this is a singing bowl. It's a Tibetan singing bowl that's different to the brass bowls I've got, and it's made of different materials. And I've ended up ordering more, which is, yes, we won't worry about that. But it's a Christmas gift to myself. So I'm going to repeat some words from a beautiful song by Bill Douglas, which is called Deep Peace. And I'll sound this bowl at the same time. I haven't practiced this, so I'm hoping it's going to come across all right. But if you would like to close your eyes, because then I'll feel more comfortable, and so hopefully you will too. Deep peace of the running waves to you. Deep peace of the floating air to you. Deep peace of the quiet earth to you. Deep peace of the shining stars to you. Deep peace of the gentle night to you. Moon and stars pour their healing light on you. Deep peace to you. Deep peace to you. So when the power of love overcomes the love of power, the world will know peace. Jimi Hendrix. Thank you.